The corridor of the Valdris station had never been designed for chaos. Its sleek titanium walls and precision-engineered lighting panels were meant to facilitate order, efficiency, and the smooth operation of one of the galaxy's most advanced diplomatic outposts. Yet here, in Sector 7's residential wing, Lieutenant Mara Dallin stood facing what could only be described as a furry avalanche. 43. Corthan cubs, each roughly the size of a human teenager but built like compact tanks, had somehow escaped their nursery dome. They bounced off walls, climbed support beams, wrestled in groups of 5 or 6, and produced a cacophony that made the station's hull vibrate. Their species was known across 12 systems for 2 things: unparalleled strength and an almost pathological inability to follow instructions until they reached adulthood at age 35. Mara's commanding officer had taken one look at the situation via security feed and immediately declared a medical emergency that required his presence in the medical bay. The Valdrin station commander, a crystalline being who communicated through light pulses, had simply dimmed itself and refused to respond. Even the Corthan adults' massive, 800-pound warriors who could bend steel had thrown up their hands and muttered something about cub season before retreating to sealed chambers. That left Mara. She was neither the strongest officer on station nor the most experienced. At 28, she'd spent most of her 5-year career managing supply logistics and mediating minor disputes. She had precisely 0 training in the xenopediatric crowd control, but she was here, and the cubs were threatening to tear apart a corridor that housed sensitive atmospheric regulators. Mara took a breath and studied the chaos. The cubs weren't malicious, they were playing, exploring, testing their growing strength against everything within reach. One had discovered that the wall panels made excellent drums. Another had figured out that if you stacked 4 cubs on top of each other, you could almost reach the ceiling. The largest cub, easily twice the mass of his companions, had appointed himself wrestling champion and was challenging anyone brave enough to approach. "Rock," an adult Corthan's voice boomed through the corridor speakers. "You were supposed to watch them." The massive cub's ears flattened against his skull. "I was watching. They just moved very fast." Mara couldn't help the small smile that touched her lips. She'd heard about Rock, the eldest of this particular clutch named after an ancient Corthan warrior. He took his responsibilities seriously, which for a cub was remarkable, but his understanding of supervision apparently meant watching his siblings destroy things rather than preventing it. She activated her comm unit. "Station security, this is Lieutenant Dallin. I'm attempting to manage the situation. Please route all non-essential traffic away from Sector 7. Copy that, Lieutenant, and good luck." Mara approached the edge of the chaos. The nearest cub spotted her and immediately charged, not with aggression but with curiosity. She held her ground. "Hi there," she said calmly. The cub skidded to a stop 3 feet away, tilted its head, and sniffed loudly. "You smell weird. Not like Corthan. Not like Valdrin." "What are you?" "Human," Mara replied. "And you are?" "Jex." The cub puffed out its chest. "I'm the fastest runner in the whole nursery." "That's impressive. Tell me, Jex, how good are you at following instructions?" The cub's expression shifted to something resembling confusion. "Instructions are boring." "Maybe," Mara conceded. "But I'm going to ask you to do something, and I think you might find it interesting. Think you can handle it?" Jex's ears perked up. Behind him, several other cubs had stopped their rampage to listen. Word among children, regardless of species, spread fast when something potentially interesting was happening. "What kind of thing?" Jex asked suspiciously. "I need all of you to line up, one at a time, in a single file line against that wall." Mara pointed to the right side of the corridor. The cubs stared at her. Several burst into chittering laughter. One shouted, "That's the boring thing ever?" But Rock, the massive cub who'd been watching from his position at the corridor's far end, pushed through the crowd. His amber eyes studied Mara with unexpected intensity. "Why?" he asked simply. Mara met his gaze without flinching. "Because this corridor isn't safe for play. Those panels you're hitting, they control the air you breathe. If they break, everyone gets sleepy and sick. I need to check each of you to make sure you're not hurt. And then I need to take you back to the nursery. One at a time means I can do this safely. It means I can make sure every single one of you is okay." The corridor fell silent. 43 pairs of eyes watched her. Rock's tail swished once, twice. Then, without a word, he walked to the wall and sat down, perfectly aligned, his spine straight. Like this? Mara felt something in her chest unclench. Exactly like that. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Jex darted over and plopped down behind Rock. I'm second. Another cub followed. Then another. Within 90 seconds, every single cub had formed a line along the corridor wall, some squirming, some perfectly still, but all unmistakably in formation. Mara had to force herself not to show her shock. She'd expected defiance, chaos, or at best partial compliance. She'd certainly never expected immediate obedience from beings whose species was legendary for their inability to take direction. She walked down the line slowly, checking each cub for injuries, a scraped knee here, a bruised shoulder there, nothing serious. She spoke to each one, learned their names, asked about their favorite games, and one by one she escorted them back to the nursery, where the automated systems could properly contain their energy. When only Rock remained, Mara sat down beside him. The massive cub could have easily overpowered her, but he simply waited. Why did you listen? She asked quietly. Rock's ears twitched. You didn't yell. You didn't grab. You didn't treat us like we were stupid. He paused. You explained. Mother says warriors respect those who give reasons, not just orders. Mara reached out slowly and patted his shoulder. His fur was surprisingly soft. Your mother is very wise. You're going to be a great warrior someday. Rock! The cub's chest swelled with pride as she led him back to the nursery. Later, the Korthan adults would speak of the incident with something approaching awe. The station commander would file a formal commendation, and throughout the diplomatic circles of the sector, a story would spread about the human who had done what even the mightiest Korthan warriors could not. She had made the cubs listen. But in that moment, walking through the quiet corridor, Mara simply felt grateful. Humanity had always succeeded not through strength or technology, but through understanding, through patience, through seeing others as individuals worthy of respect, regardless of their age or species. Sometimes that was all it took to change everything.